Okay, so sometimes there's an idea so dangerous, so personal in your knowledge, that you could probably explain it, but without there being a clear delineation of, so that you could understand, this is what you're seeing. These are the two phenomena you're seeing. You think it's one. The lawsuit against the ADL by Elon Musk and what Netanyahu just proposed are linked in a way, because they're two different cultures, but they say they're the same people. ADL types, let's just call them ADL types. Well, they're, by the statistics, by all the numbers, there is one group that is the most likely to convert to almost any other spiritual system, thinking, religion. They're extremely likely to intermarry with other people and leave their group. Yet, what ends up happening is then that group has then these various, and they're really a cultural concept, because this kept happening, because they were such a small group that lost their land over and over again and kept having to intermarry with other cultures, hence their alphabet even being structured from other alphabets slowly over time. This group ends up having then a moment, it's a movement to, you've lost your heritage, you're part us, we want you back. Will you come back? Please come back, this and that. So usually, because in any empire, you end up with people who are the mixed of the empire. And they go for movements because they don't have one. They don't have quite a place they fit in. Or they will have a place they fit in if their group is sort of set aside. An example of that would be a group called the Donme of Turkey, not accepted by the Jewish community proper, not accepted by the Islamic community proper, but they are their own community unto themselves, who are Jews who adopted Islam at a certain point in history. And so the Donme still exist. They now are really like a group that's trying to make their story sort of better known, because now more and more people have like caught on to the fact they exist. And in Erdogan's Turkey, I mean, they know, they're like, no, we know the history of these people. We have to be worried about what might happen to us. This is a very important idea. Practical-minded people of such a group would think something could happen to us. So what would they then do? What would be the rational thing if your entire identity is about this deep and rich heritage of spirituality, family, extreme closeness of family, like extreme identity? Well, that's what you do. You would have national, over and over and over again, national celebrations of identity and spiritual heritage. Who are those people? Those are the religious Jews, who are constantly demonized throughout all press, all the time. Even in America, when they're like, well, we don't really interact with lots of people, so it's not very likely we're going to spread this virus. I mean, the way that we actually behave is based on when there was a virus spreading over 1,000 years ago, and that's why we have this insular method of living, and we have all these precautions about how you behave and how you handle hygiene. In fact, don't you remember, we are particularly a group known for our hygienic practices during the Black Plague, and how it was one of the things that actually preserved the very few Jews who were preserved. But no, instead of being kind of rational or reasonable about it, everybody else decided, well, no, you're religious people, we're going to treat you the way a irreligious society treats the very religious. We're going to treat you like you can't possibly be rational, reasonable, or think clearly. That's so they're getting what's going. They're seeing what the trend is happening in the Western world. Now, most people don't know Netanyahu is vigorously and viciously opposed to labor Zionism. Labor Zionism is, in particular, the group that really does have this bizarre thing of trying to just take in immigrants. So there won't be a Jewish state anymore if they do this. And one would think, wait, why would they live there and then want to eliminate their own state? That's crazy. So it's like Netanyahu's the one who builds the border walls. He's the one who supports the religious. So who are the irreligious? Are the people who are most likely the Marxists and the Rainbow Star David people. They are the ADL people here. These are not religious people. These are people who see that they're the lunatics who are really smart, and they're like a quarter Jewish or a tenth Jewish, and they're like, I'm so Jewish and I'm so offended, I have to defend the black people, and stuff like that. And they hate Trump because Trump really is like, the ultra goy playboy, and it's just some weird envy. It's just some weird form of envy. But it's also, this has gone on for a while. This has happened with Jesse Jackson. This has happened with, I think Al Sharpton got into it with them. They know how to get their money. They know how to get their fame and their money and their controversy, and they know how to get their audio clip. And then you answer to them. That's how it is. And it's associated definitely with the end of that community that's organized crime and lawfare, and the religious people are afraid of them. Let me just put it that way. The religious people in the community are afraid of them. That's why they don't say anything about the ADL. The religious are actually afraid of them, because the religious are just normal people. They're and that's the thing, is they remember, these would have been people who would have been normal to middle class, even highly skilled people who lived an insular life of an insular family life. While you then have these kind of cosmopolitans that have friends and people in all these different quote unquote communities, and they're cultured, quote unquote, and they and they remember, these are the types of people who were always putting down the Eastern European Jews back in the day for their Eastern European ways, and eating onion soup and all this stuff, and eating weird things, looking weird and acting weird, but now, so the polite British and German Jews, they've long descended. They have a few Cathys and a few Christinas in their lineage, and now, and maybe a Mike in there somewhere, and so now, it's like they're very concerned, about the rise of the anti-Semitism with the Trump and the internet. The things people say on the internet. Oh my gosh. But so this is so these are the two actual factions now. That so this is how beautifully this is being played by Netanyahu. Netanyahu saying, "I will vanish if you give us peace." That's, brilliant. That's a brilliant, even thinking of it like a story. Think of it as if somebody was writing his life story, that he finally is faced with this moment, but maybe he can make it out. He could get out, finally, of this dirty business, and that he can make peace with Saudi Arabia, but he'll have to get out of public life forever. That's a great story. He did it for his people, and the thing is, though, he sees the future. Only nations that understand and respect each other as nationalities, ethnicities, religions. Remember, the United States, in all of those email drops around the Clinton emails, one of these was us trying to influence religion in Turkey. And that has to be understood for exactly what that fucking is. And that we try to manipulate these societies at their core, and bribe. We bribe politicians. We terrorize. We have proxy wars, so as to make these various countries bend to our will, and that we're even willing to kind of do terrible things, really, to the culture itself by inserting who we want by force into their religious kind of communities. And the Clinton emails showed that we were doing that to Turkey. And that's why Erdogan, when the coup came, Erdogan wasn't there. He got a call from Vlad, and everyone knows it. Everyone knows the Russians were like, "You're about to die, get out of town." and now, and that fucked America's plans completely. That was the big one that fucked America's plans. Because then it was just a matter of when was Erdogan going to get his revenge? And then how? All Erdogan had to do after that was just wait for his vengeance. And now we're seeing that with Assad being brought back into the Arab League, and this slow cooling between Turkey and Assad, because remember, we said to Turkey, you can have it if you could take it. We're going to stand aside like we did with Iraq and Kuwait. Oh no, they're fighting, but then we tried to kill Erdogan, and Erdogan, get out of town. Erdogan's out of town. Oh no, coup didn't work. What happened? It's like somebody had access to all of our top secret communications. It's like there was an incompetent and a bunch of crooks in office for 8 years who sold all of our secrets. Oh no. And now it's the game. We're seeing at every end the game being up. Israel is in the oil market. They're in the gold market. I've bought Israeli gold. To put it in the comments, be respectful, and and I just already know. I already fucking know. And Assad is going to get it all back. They're going to roll out what they're going to have on ISIS and our involvement with them. Whoo! We're never going to be able to step back in that area. Holy shit! I'm just like thinking about all of the many kind of losses this has been for really this giant plan that was going on apparently between us, France, and the EU trying to kind of preserve our power there, and completely underestimating that that region of the world had their own interests, and that their own interests lined up together and were in harmony with one another, and that there's also things that can't be done unless done regionally, such as regional projects to reforest parts of the Middle East, because now, of course, more and more we're finding out, no, there were forests there. You just have to have a reforesting project, but it has to be massive. Like how Israel did, where they had a reforesting project and reforestation project. So things like that, projects like that, you need the area stable. You can't have massive amounts of jihadis and warfare going constantly. And also, this isn't cheap for anybody. This is wearing through the coffers of so many different governments that it's not worth it for them. And that's in every time we come at them and we see, it's, oh yeah, oh, this would be terrible if something like this happened, and that's who we are now. That's who America, and especially the Democrats, have become for much of the planet, is these people who, oh boy, it sure would be terrible if you had some security problems with jihadis. What do you mean? And then, da-da-da-da. So, yeah, this is something, because there's been these really based religious Jews who popped up in the right-wing sphere. And some of them are still around, and they've never been fond of labor Zionism, but there's also this, because it's not good or bad, it's also this thing of like, well, I mean, here's what's good and here's what's bad about and it's because that's, oh man, some kind of mouse around here. The dang mice. But and so I was just thinking about that. This is going to be interesting to see how this, and yeah, because of the change. This is the realignment. This is the realignment of the world as we know it, and Trump had much more to do with this realignment than really anybody wants to admit. There's something that's going on where people have this really hard time thinking that he wasn't, people just want to believe he was just a total fucking buffoon, and that he just didn't get anything done at all. And it's like, no, what he got done was stuff in the background that was such good chess that he set up a defensive blockade against all kinds of things that, I mean, we have to admit, he and his team did, and because so many of us voted for him, we saved the Republic for a little while. And now this is the big fight. And the Democrats are probably going to start terrorizing us. They're going to start terrorizing people. They don't have another method. They're effeminate in nature, so they have to start slamming the doors and throwing things around the house, because they can't deal with not having it their way, and that's all that matters. The only thing that matters. I mean, like, even think about this, how the labor Zionists want to fundamentally they want policies about immigration that would make it impossible for Israel to exist. So it's pure self-destruction, like a pure uncut self-destruction. It just, yeah. It's so. I'm thoroughly enjoying this, of course. But this is going to be interesting to see, because we haven't seen Judaism go through this in a long time. We haven't seen a massive fight within Judaism in some time. And we're about to, I think.